This is the Haibike SDURO HardSeven SM. It's the lowest priced Haibike in the entire line. $24.99, so like 2,500 bucks. You get a mid-drive, offers really good power efficiency, also keeps weight low and centered, so you can ride this off-road and have, just better handling ability. Same with the battery pack, pretty low, right there on the frame, on the down tube, like that. The Yamaha batteries are pretty cool in that they sort of slide out from the side. You can unlock it right here. They don't have to clip up like the Bosch system or many of the other sort of like Shark or Dolphin packs out there. So that's nice. It means that they can bring that top tube down a little bit, lower the standover height on the frame, just makes it a little bit easier to mount or maybe hop off in a hurry and not rack yourself. It's kind of nice. Love that you got quick release on the front and the rear wheel. That's one of the benefits of any mid-drive system, and they take full advantage of that. Got these nice hydraulic disc brakes, 180 millimeter rotors, Tektro Ariga. Got just a couple finger lever up here, really nice to pull on. Kind of a standard grips, no lockers or anything, rubber. Nice long handlebar though. And this is where we start to see some of the kind of the lower end components, because this is the most affordable bike in the line. The Yamaha systems are more affordable than the Bosch systems, and it's sort of the first year that I've seen these in the United States. They offer pretty good power, and I guess it's interesting because rather than having a small sprocket like the Bosch system that's like a 2-to-1 ratio, so it's spinning twice as fast as a normal chainring like we see here, this looks nice, and it is able to actually accommodate 2 sprockets, although that's not what we have here. This is only a 9-speed drivetrain SRAM X-4. Just again, this is a name brand, like a recognizable piece or component. It's just not as nice. Same with the pedals, plastic, a little bit of aluminum around the edges, track style. There's just little things like that. Even the fork, you do have lockout, but it's not as nice. It's going to be a little bit heavier. It's not an air fork. A little bit of a preload adjustment on the left, and then the swivel lockout on the right. It's not remote like some of the higher end offerings, even the HardSeven. This is, again, there are 3 of them, and this is the lowest one. So you do start to make some trade-offs. It's still available in 5 frame sizes, so you can really dial it in if you're someone who's a little bit shorter, maybe you're taller, and fit is huge. That's going to make your ride a lot more enjoyable, especially if you are going further. And this motor, this drive system with the battery, because it's leveraging your rear cassette instead of just being a hub motor that spins all the time, this is actually taking advantage of that cassette for climbing or for hitting higher speeds. It has something of like a more limited range in my experience, meaning you do have to shift if you want to hit that top speed. But when you shift down, it's gonna help you more effectively. It's not just limited to that one sort of range of speeds like a hub motor is. So I guess it's trade-offs, but it does, I think personally that it adds a little bit of strain to your chain, to the derailleur, even to the teeth on these sprockets. So, I have my uncle owns a Haibike with the Bosch system, and it has shift sensing, which the Yamaha system does not. And he's had to replace his chain and his derailleur multiple times throughout the course of a year, as he's ridden so frequently and gone off-road and stuff. And that's just something to keep in mind. But with a hardtail like this, I'm here on a university campus in Fullerton, California, and I came to this location because I felt like it reflected how I would ride this bike. I would probably use it for around town. I would use it for commuting, getting to school. It's the cheaper option, and a lot of times if you're a student or whatever, you're on a budget. But again, being able to dial in the fit and have something that looks this cool, that's awesome. So I don't know, I would just kind of keep in mind that if you do take this off-road on the weekends maybe, and you start to mash those gears and you're climbing a hill and having to shift down or shift up quickly because you're riding aggressively, that is going to take a toll on your drivetrain. So just keep that in mind. I love that the battery is removable, and you can see it's also chargeable on frame right there. Love that, because I used to store my bike in my dorm room, and that was just really convenient. It meant that I could plug it right in. I didn't have to worry about accidentally dropping the battery or whatever. But sometimes you do have to park outside, whether you're going into a class. You can pull that battery pack off. It weighs about 6.5 pounds. Not super heavy, but it is a little bit large. Same with the charger. So if you're someone who's commuting to work and you feel like, yeah, I'm going to bring the charger with me and, top off the battery, which would be probably unnecessary for most people. I feel like you could get 30 miles easy on that battery, and that's in the highest level of assist. There are 3 levels, so something like 30 to 60 mile range on this, depending on what level you choose. Anyway, if you do want to bring that battery charger, look how big it is. You know, it's pretty. This is my hand here. I don't have especially large hands, but you can see the plug coming out of both ends. It's not like the kind where you can pull it out, and it's just sort of a mess of wires here. I feel like that's what it would look like if I was carrying it in my backpack all the time. So there's room for improvement, but it is a 4 amp charger. I feel like it could top the battery in 4.5 hours, and that's awesome. The battery is lithium ion, really good technology. It's the stuff that you'd find in like laptops and cell phones and electric cars. It comes with a 2-year warranty comprehensive for this bike, which is sweet. That covers the battery, 5 years on the frame. It's pretty great. And I guess I would just, if you want to extend the life of this battery, keep it in a cool, dry location. The extreme heat, extreme cold isn't going to be good for it. And while it does look pretty well sealed against water and stuff, again, it's nice that you can take it completely off the frame if you want to. You cannot take the display off, which is one of my complaints on this particular model, nor is there like a USB charging port. And that's something you get when you move to the higher end, like nice LCD display on the Haibikes with the Yamaha system. All of the Bosch systems, the display is removable. It's the LCD. It's big and bright, easy to read, backlit. This is also backlit, but it's just LEDs. So you've got those 3 levels of assist. You can see battery percentage over here. If you press it once, you can see the range estimate. So right now I have no assist, so there's no range estimate. But as soon as I go to Eco, it says 66 miles, standard 43, high 35. So that was that range I was estimating, and I'm being a little bit more conservative with my estimates. There's also a light button, and that sort of dims the backlighting, and it would actually activate front and rear lights if they were wired in on this bike, but they are not. It does not come with lights. You could just add your own little like Saiga lights or frog lights or whatever. There's a whole bunch of different options. One thing this bike does not offer is bottle cage bosses, and I'm not sure that they would even fit because of that sloping down top tube. That's okay. None of the Haibikes really do, and it's a little bit of a gripe for me because I would mount like a lock or a mini pump sometimes. I think I would at that point say, well, hey, like let's at least add a rack so I can have panniers. I'm carrying my books or whatever, but there aren't too many options here. I mean, you do have a threaded eyelet right there, another one on this side, and there's a hole right here, another threaded eyelet on the bottom. It's just, I don't know too many racks that are gonna work well with that, so I'd probably opt for a beam rack, and there is plenty of room on this one to put a beam rack. Just note that they kind of get bumped side to side, and if you have pannier blockers, those can rub on your tires. If you don't have pannier blockers, panniers can get caught and kind of get like rug burn by touching the knobs on these tires. So just something to think about. You may end up just wearing a backpack. That sort of takes the fun out of it a little bit. The geometry on this is a little bit more aggressive, but not terrible. You'll notice that the stem isn't super long, and then they've got 3 inserts here. So it's a little bit more of a, for fun around town, you know, it's a hardtail, and something that isn't quite as aggressive as like full suspension downhill or whatever. But the fact that you get those hydraulic brakes and you get a 9-speed drivetrain, the Yamaha system, let's talk about that a little bit more. So this is a 250 watt nominal, 500 watt peak motor. It's geared, it's mid-drive, as you can see here. It's got this nice replaceable plastic scuff guard, so if you do take it off-road, it should provide some protection to the motor. The Bosch system, by comparison, is like 250 to 350 watt with 60 newton meters of torque, unless you get the CX, and then it's 75 newton meters. This has 80. They perform similarly. I feel like this one's a little bit more sluggish on stopping because the chain ring is larger. I also feel like this doesn't have the same range of speeds, and that it mostly responds to your pedal torque, which isn't so bad. I mean, that's part of what gets you further, like a better range, but it's not a cadence sensor. You can't just like gently pedal. You actually have to contribute. And that's, again, that boosts your range. So you can see a little magnetic sensor here, and then the reader on this side. So it's measuring wheel speed or movement, cadence, so how fast you're pedaling or if you're pedaling at all, and then torque. And torque is, again, is the big one. I love that they've got these sort of internally routed cables, and they were sort of, I guess, just celebrating how big these openings are, and they say it makes it easier to run cables through and to do maintenance. But then they've got this little plastic insert that kind of closes it up and keeps it from rattling around very much. It's nice. It's a purpose-built frame, sort of a I don't know, satin gray with white. It looks cool. The fork matches. Very nice. It's a heavier fork, again, not being an air fork or anything like that. So there are some trade-offs, but I'm being like overly critical of this because Haibike is such a premium brand and I'm not used to seeing the lower end parts on it. If you're coming from another $2,000, $2,500 electric bike with like, you know, a Shimano Turn ETX or a Levio or something, it's still a step up. You still got 9 speeds. You've got the slap guard right here. You've got the nice chain. It's kind of like a chain guide. It might also scrape some of the mud or whatever off the chain so that you don't get slipping. This is not a narrow, wide tooth configuration or anything, so you could still have some slip, but I feel like that's going to really keep it on track. I've noticed when riding that there's a little bit of like clicking where the chain's actually touching that guide, and maybe it's because this one isn't tuned up perfectly, but it's, you know, there's little trade-offs to consider like that. And this is still way better than most things I see at this price level. So I guess that's the point I wanted to get across. The saddle, again, I don't see, it's not like the Celly Royale ones that have the little bag or light clip on. It's more generic. Aluminum, you know, seat post. Yeah, pretty good stuff. Oh, and I mentioned this on most of these reviews, but you see how I'm pedaling backwards? It doesn't have like a whole lot of friction. So a couple times I've like lost control of my pedals and it's gone back and scraped my shin. So, whoa, oh boy, be careful not to lose control. That's the point I was trying to make. Now let's just get into it and I'll show you how to operate this thing. So the battery's charged, it's mounted, does have the LED readout so you can tell how full it is. We're pretty full. Press that power button on this display panel here. I'll turn it off, turn it on, lights up, like maybe a system check. Can arrow up or down, so it tells me my speed, battery percentage, we're at 90%, or the range estimator, which we went through earlier. So I tend to leave it on speed, especially for the review. Right now we have no assist going on. I can arrow up to eco, standard, or high. I'm gonna do high just to show you just sort of how the motor sounds and let you see how responsive it is while we're riding. So let's do that. I'm just gonna hop on. Pretty clean cockpit. And I like how simple this display is. You know, it's relatively easy to reach, maybe not quite as easy as the button pad. It looks pretty watertight and it blends in well enough, so it's a good compromise. I mean, you're paying a lot less for this bike. So then we've got the trigger shifters. I feel like these ones need to be swiveled a little bit lower so that, because they're really shoved up there right now. You can see the 9 speeds. Okay. Okay, so we pretty much maxed out the motor speed and we're only at 14 miles per hour, maybe 15. So see how fast I'm spinning? Like the motor won't spin any faster than that. So what I'm gonna have to do is shift up. So when I shift up, then we'll be able to hit that 20 mile per hour max speed. This is a class 1 electric bike, so it's gonna be allowed in the most number of places, the highest number of locations, probably some trails and bike lanes and stuff like that. So here we go, shift. Kind of loud on the shifting there. I'm in the highest gear and I'm at 20. So there we go. That's the experience. If you want to ride this around town and you're on pavement and stuff, I tend to ride in those higher gears. But then if you have to stop at a stop sign, you're kind of starting off sort of sluggish, and the motor, you know, it takes a minute to kick in. It's not nearly as powerful and zippy as when I'm in those lower speeds. So I just feel like I do a lot more shifting with this bike than even the Bosch system, which just seems to have a wider range. And because it's spinning at a higher RPM with a smaller sprocket, it just seems more efficient, and it's also more responsive. just see a little bit of that slowdown there when I stop pushing and pedaling. But it's also pretty quiet in these higher gears versus the low gears. Let me switch back here. Yeah, pretty cool. In this configuration, this is a lot more like Trans X or Shimano or something like that. And they say there's the zero cadence, I guess, drive that this offers. The Bosch system, I think you have to be pedaling at like 20 RPM, but that means 20 rotations per minute. That's pretty slow. It starts very quickly and it stops very quickly. This is marketed at a younger demographic because it's more affordable, and just some of it's cheaper, you know, making this kind of display, having some of these components that just, they aren't as nice. They're gonna weigh a little bit more. This bike weighs 49 pounds, which isn't terrible by any means. I mean, it's still decent, but it's heavier than some of the other models, and maybe it comes back to that fork not being an air fork and just some of the components not being as lightweight. The frame is still aluminum alloy, hydroformed, gravity casting interface right here where the motor connects. Very, very purpose-built. And there's a lot to appreciate. I think even just the aesthetic of this bike, I'd feel a lot better taking this to rack and locking it up because it's just a little more plain. It still looks awesome, but just the components and stuff aren't as high up the ladder, and so it can cost a little bit less. 14 gauge spokes, front and rear, they're black and they blend in. It's going to be easier to just do maintenance on this and get have a normal like cycling routine with it. So yeah, I think that's it. It's the Haibike SDURO with the Yamaha mid-drive system. It's a HardSeven. It's the SM, which is the entry-level model, cheapest one in the lineup. For the full write-up on this and some of the other Haibikes, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Ride safe.